From the Open Season Property Studio, welcome to SuperTalk Outdoors, where we every single Monday celebrate the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi because we are the capital of the outdoors in America. I want to thank you for joining us on the powerful SuperTalk Mississippi Radio Network. Some of you listen to SuperTalk Outdoors on supertalk.fm or Amazon Alexa or the SuperTalk Mississippi app or on SuperTalk TV at C-Spire TV. We want to thank you for doing that. But some of you are actually watching on YouTube or Facebook or listening on your favorite podcast. We appreciate that too. We are there wherever and whenever you want to engage in the show. By the way, it's June 3rd. 2024, and I really appreciate you paying attention, man. The feedback on the show continues to be outstanding. Keep the comments and the feedback coming. We really appreciate that. Listen, fishing in coastal Mississippi is really, really cranking up, and we're going to be talking more about that in the second half of the show with the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources Executive Director, General Joe Spraggins, my friend Joe Spraggins. He is a terrific leader in Mississippi. And, man, they've got a lot to say grace over there at the MDMR. Listen, you know, as I've mentioned, the wild turkey bill, there was a lot of disappointment coming out of the last legislative session. We want to know more about what the communication breakdown was between House Chairman of the Wildlife Committee, Bill Kincaid, and the chairman on the Senate side of the Wildlife Committee, Neil Whaley. We're going to learn more about that. But listen, I have been assured in my conversations with Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann, this is most likely a bill that will get through next year. We'll get the focus where it needs to be, and he feels confident we'll see a wild turkey stamp here pretty soon. But listen, wild turkey hunting in Mississippi is a big deal in Mississippi. And it's one of the reasons we call this the capital of the outdoors. And I got to thinking about this. I haven't had Adam Butler, the Wild Turkey Program Coordinator, on the show in quite a while. So we've invited Adam to be part of the show today to look back on this season and see what's going on in his world these days and just catch up. Adam, how you been? It's been a long time, my friend.
Yeah, great to be back with you to talk turkey. And man, things are going really good right now. A lot of optimism around turkeys, which is good. You know, we went through kind of a period where there's a lot of anxiety, but you know, we're coming off the heels of a really great spring 2024, and we're starting our summer brood survey period where we're looking at how the hatch is doing this summer. So hoping we're going to have another really good hatch. But yeah, coming off the heels of what looked to be a great season, pretty much throughout the entirety of the state.
Hey, listen, just one quick comment about the wild turkey stamp. What you have discovered in your work across the United States is that, you know, there are best practices that exist in states that have wild turkey stamps tend to be a best practice. And I think Mississippi will have it too. Let me just this kind of point of encouragement here. While there are going to always be, you know, communication breakdowns that I've alluded to, et cetera, you know, oftentimes it takes more than 1 year to get a bill through. I'll cite the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund. It took a couple of years to get that done, and now we've got this incredible trust fund that's going to pay dividends for many generations to come. I think the wild turkey bill will be the same thing. You know, sometimes it seems the easiest bills can get hung up, but it takes, you know, sometimes a couple of years to get aligned around it. So I'm confident, as the Lieutenant Governor mentioned to me, I'm confident that we'll get it done, and Mississippi will join those who are best practices in America. And I know you know that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I just last week went to a conference. It was a national conference on hunting and shooting sports and things like that. And I was really surprised at the number of people that came up to me to talk about that, because they were aware that was out there here in our state. And I think a lot of people around the country, you know, look to Mississippi, just like you're saying, in terms of just all the outdoors. We're nationally recognized for how good that the hunting and fishing is here. But I think turkey hunting is particularly one of those things that is you know, Mississippi's recognized. But we're recognized being kind of the bottom of the flyway for ducks. We're recognized for some big deer in a lot of parts of our state. But I think turkey hunting, you know, is one of those things that Mississippi is synonymous with. We've got so many nationally recognized brands that are, you know, that turkey hunting is just central to. We've got so many personalities that are known nationally as, you know, champion turkey callers or storytellers or whatever that is. And so I think our state gets a lot of recognition for that. I saw that last week at the conference I attended, and I want us to continue to lead from the front on that, to make sure that bird that is so important to so many Mississippians, and that so many people around the country recognize us as being a great place for, that we continue to be nationally recognized leaders when it comes to turkey conservation and management and stuff. And that takes prioritization. And I think that's what this conversation is all about. Hunters and folks that make policy and that do the management and that are involved in conservation are prioritizing the wild turkey because it's so important to us.
Yeah, you think about the Hayes family and Mossy Oak and Will Primos and Primos Outdoors and this young group of guys coming along like Jordan Blissett and Lake Pickle. And I mean, there's a lot of folks that are focused, but I call them often ambassadors for Mississippi because they're the ones who help categorize all these incredible dimensions of our outdoors life and shows the world, really. They show the world that Mississippi is the capital of the outdoors. And while they may not be using that specific phrase, the reality is that's what comes out of it. In fact, I'll just give you an example. We'll talk about this in the second half of the show, but Mississippi, the number one outdoors charter boat scheduling company or website in America, Biloxi is number one for red snapper, ahead of Venice, Louisiana, ahead of Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. That's a pretty significant statement. And by the way, I know that because I leave from my backyard and I go to these places, and it's we're fortunate. But you're right, on so many dimensions we have scored. And if you go back and look at the wild turkey conservation story in Mississippi, what was and what is today as a result of some of our forefathers really focusing on making it the best it can be, it's an incredible story. And everyone around the United States is aware of it, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hunters have always been the backbone of conservation. Hunters have always paid their way to get conservation done in so many ways, whether that be, license sales that go back into the pot for conservation, whether that be, dollars coming into conservation from firearm sales, whether that be just the money that people put, in their own backyard doing habitat work on the back 40. I mean, hunters are really, they're where the rubber meets the road in terms of our wildlife populations and all that. And you're right. I mean, there's so many great success stories in conservation or in our history. And, talking about a turkey stamp, that's really, it's a new idea for us, but it's really not a new idea. I mean, we've had duck stamps, federal duck stamp has been around for, probably close to 100 years now. We've had a state duck stamp for probably close to 50 or 60 years, and long track record from both of those of, a user benefit system where hunters are paying for those, and those dollars are going directly back into the thing that they're interested in pursuing. So, I mean, a lot of great examples of success there.
What I appreciate about what you do through the wild turkey program there at the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks is that you spend a lot of time looking at the data. You spend a lot of time gathering information, and your goal is to continue to do what we learned from the North American wildlife model back in the day, which is we want to be sure that we're protecting the resource. We want to enjoy the resource, but we want to protect it for future generations. And because wild turkey is a species that is so popular, it does have stress on it, and we've got to pay attention to that stress. And that's what your department is trying to focus on, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's one of the forms of hunting that's probably gotten much more popular in the last 10 years or maybe a little more. You hear a lot about decline in hunter participation, decline in hunters, and when it comes to turkeys, we've seen really the opposite, and that's a trend both here at home and a nationwide trend. So, like, having an idea of exactly how many turkey hunters are out there, what's on their minds. What are they thinking? What are they wanting to do in terms of direction? It's all really, really important. And, I guess you talking about my job particularly, like that's what I really enjoy doing. I enjoy kind of nerding out on all the data and the details and figuring out what's going on. So it's a great place to be, but we try as best we can, I think. And I think our agency does a really good job of sort of focusing on the hunters and understanding, who Mississippi hunters are and what their mentality is and what their goals and objectives are. I think we do pretty good with that.
Hey, one of the things I enjoy most about this show is the opportunity to honor so many leaders at the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks that are focused on alligator and black bear and ducks and wild turkey and white-tailed deer and invasive species. I mean, I could just go on, but we're so lucky to have you guys. Hey, when we come back on the other side, we'll continue our conversation with the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. Adam Butler is head of the Wild Turkey Program, and we'll look back on this year and see what we learned about this past turkey season. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to SuperTalk Outdoors from the Open Season Property Studio. No matter what kind of hunting you're into, whether you're looking for 40 acres or 4,000 acres, if you are looking to buy land, you need someone you can trust. He's a hunting land hunter. Call Lake Pickle from Open Season Properties at 601-750-2487. We're really thrilled to have Lake Pickle from Open Season Properties as one of our sponsors. By the way, I'm going to give you some breaking news about Lake. He has acquired the Primo's Truth About Hunting podcast. Is that not great news or what? SuperTalk Mississippi News literally is working on a story about that as we speak. So they should have that posted at SuperTalk Mississippi News by the end of the day. But I'm so proud of Lake. He's one of those many ambassadors that I speak about all the time. And he's a young guy willing to speak out on the issues that are important to him. And we need leaders like Lake in this community. And again, I'm thrilled to have him as a sponsor of this show on top of that. So let's get back to our conversation with the Wild Turkey Program Coordinator for the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, Adam Butler. Adam, it really is great to see you again. Just before we get into this past season, how have you been doing?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm in that season of life. I got little kids, and so everything's just busy all the time. My son and I had a great turkey season. This was really kind of his second. He's hunted with me a lot, for a long time, since he was probably 5 years old. But this is really the second season where he was really the hunter, and I'm just kind of guiding him. And man, we spent a lot of time together. I don't know how many hunts we went on together, but quite a few, and had some really good ones. He was able to get his first turkey this year in what will probably go down as like the most memorable hunt of my life. Like it was like God himself just said, I'm going to give you this turkey today, and there's no way you can refuse it. Like the bird just literally hung around us forever, and just we had multiple chances to get it done, and finally on about the third try we were able to get him. So that was my son's first turkey. So that was, obviously not just a highlight of the year, but a highlight of my hunting career probably. So it's been really good, man. I just still trying to get out as much as I can.
Hey, listen, I think it's so cool to hear a father talk about a hunt with a son. It brings back so many great memories with me and my kids. Man, there's nothing like it. I mean, in the moment when he had the opportunity to have success, probably some of your best hunts where you didn't have success, just learning about, when you're still and you're quiet, you get to actually see these incredible animals in the wild. I mean, that's an experience in and of itself. But when you actually pull the trigger and have success, I mean, it's one of the most emotional moments that there is as a parent, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've been a turkey hunter since I was his age. So, I'm several decades in now at this point, but like starting last year, not 2024, but go back to 2023 was like kind of my first, okay, Bryce is going to be the one carrying the gun. I'm just guiding him now. And it has been like relearning the sport to try to do it with a little person. Like the degree of difficulty, it goes up like by orders of magnitude. So you mentioned just a minute or two ago about kind of the one that gets away, so we had, we had the 2023 season, we had several really close encounters where we didn't get the bird that, like, I think just burned the image in his head. Like, I think those, looking back on it, I think those hooked him more than if we would have gotten one the very first time he went out. And that's it's a weird thing, and he probably didn't, wouldn't want me saying that, but we stuck with it. And like I said, we had some great hunts this year, and the one, it was about middle of the season when we were finally able to get it done, and it'll be a hunt neither of us ever forget. It was epic.
But you know what, buddy? Here's the thing that's so powerful about that. I see it through my kids and now through my grandkids. This, when I think about my thirst for the future, when I think about my thirst for saying that the work that we're doing is generational. When we're talking about issues that are important to this show, sometimes those are difficult issues. I get it. But when we're talking about these kind of issues, and we're talking about what will our kids and our kids' kids say of us in this moment? Will they say of us that we got it, that we did the kind of things that would preserve their ability for them and their kids and their kids' kids to be able to enjoy it? Will they say that, or will they say that we blew it? I don't think they'll say we blew it in Mississippi. I really don't. And for you to be the wild turkey program coordinator, and to have that experience with your son, that makes you a better a wild turkey coordinator, doesn't it?
Yeah. And, I don't think anyone could do any of our jobs without being passionate about it, and I know a lot of times, so, we are an agency that has to make hard decisions sometimes. We have to make policy that, you're never going to have 100% agreement on any policy issues. And so I know a lot of times, with the public, they can look to us with kind of raised eyebrows, but I always try to point out, look, every single one of us here, every single person I know of in our wildlife division, every single person I know of in our law enforcement division, we're all hunters too. We're all doing this because we love it, because it's just a part of our life. So, we can see through the eyes of what hunters in Mississippi see, because we do it too,
Yeah.
And I think it's always important to point that out.
Yeah.
Biologist is this kind of nerdy term, and some people think something of it and some people don't. But at the end of the day, I'm doing this because I was a turkey hunter first,
Yeah. I think that's, and I do this show because I love the outdoors. I mean, I can't get enough, because I know what it does for me and my family to bring us together. That's what it is for me. Hey, listen, Adam, in the short time we have left, when you look back on this past season, do you look back on it with pride that we've had a really successful season?
Yeah, what I think it really, this 2024 season shows what a really good hatch can do. So just real quick, like I said, we keep data on turkey, little ones and big ones, during the summertime. The brood survey that looks at how good the hatch was, we do that in June, July, and August of every year. That survey data 2 years ago in 2022 was the best we had seen in nearly 25, 30 years.
Wow.
So the 2022 hatch was just a great turkey hatch all over our state. Every single corner of our state did really, really well. And with turkeys, because we don't shoot the year-old males, or adult hunters don't, youth hunters can, but adult hunters, you were talking about mature long-bearded gobblers. Those are 2-year-old or older turkeys. So normally it takes 2 years for a good hatch to really bear fruit. And that's what we saw this year. So 2022, great hatch. 2023, a lot of young birds seen, a lot of Jake seen. 2024, we have a season that was just really one of the best we've had in a long time. We've had our game check system for 6 years now. The game check number this year was, 15,000 and some change. And that's 25-30% above kind of what it had been for the previous 5 years. So great season all the way around. Most of the state had a pretty good hatch also in 2023. So I expect next year is probably going to be just as good. So I hope we're set up on a good run of years here with turkeys. With turkeys, everything kind of lives and dies by how good the hatch is. If they do really well, we're going to have birds. If they don't, things are going to decline, and people will feel that. But right now, I think we're in a pretty good little window of time. So I hope that can continue.
Hey, you know what? If there's a building narrative in some of the conversations that I'm having on this show, it is that more people are doing controlled burns and talking about controlled burns these days than before. And the other is we're talking a lot more about taking predators out. And, that contributes greatly to this conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I say that a lot too, in that, if you've looked over the last 10 years or so, just any kind of hunting magazine, anything talking about turkeys, there's been a lot of anxiety and a lot of hand wringing, and rightly so, like here and in a lot of other places. A lot of these data sets that we keep did start declining in kind of the late aughts, 2010, a few years either side of that. And in some places worse than others. But I think the silver lining to all of that has been a lot more people are now plugged in on trying to help turkeys. Both, we talked earlier about, ways we can help funding and big picture, but people are doing it at the small scale too. They're doing stuff on their land. You're right. More people than ever will prescribe burning, the trapping stuff. I really feel like we're in the midst of sort of this, I don't want to call it a resurgence because there's a lot of this been going on, but just so much more of people being holistic about managing wildlife, 365, every tool in the toolbox, whatever that looks like. And it's great to see. It's great to see. And if going through a little bit of a downtime with turkeys prompted that, sometimes it's the hard times that make you better in the end. And so I'm very optimistic that that's what we're in right now. And I think what you mentioned there is just sort of the signs of that.
I had U.S. Forest Service Manager Shannon Collardi on recently, and what they're doing in the controlled burning space is a leader in the nation. It's amazing what's happening there. But we're out of time for the day. It's been a pleasure to reconnect, Adam. It's great to see you. Keep up the good work.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank y'all.
You bet. Hey, when we come back, Joe Spraggins, the Executive Director of the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, will be joining us. We'll see you after this break.